our life looks like what it looks like, right? We wonder why things come into play the way they come into play. It's because we steadily feeding our souls junk, right? We feeding it all kind of crazy music, all kind of crazy TV shows, all kind of crazy movies, right? We got friends that we have these crazy conversations with, right? It's a whole lot of stuff that we put in play that we have to be number one responsible for. We got to take responsibility for it, and we got to be accountable for it, and we got to limit ourselves to exposing ourselves to stuff that's going to drive us down deeper and darker paths, right? Because you keep letting yourself drive down that deep and darker path, it's a dark dead end road that's at the end of depression, and we don't want to get to that road, right? I've unfortunately had a friend that walked themselves down to that road, and I've seen other people have friends that have walked themselves down to that road, because depression ultimately leads to suicide if you don't do anything about it. So what you have to do, and what I strongly encourage you to do, is to take a look in the mirror, right? In most cases, you can look in the mirror, you can see you got a beautiful smile, you got two beautiful eyes, a beautiful nose, beautiful mouth. You know what I mean? You got it going on, right? Other folks may not like it. That's on them. But you got to take that look in the mirror, and you got to start to like what you see. Even if the situations and the circumstances around your life don't encourage that, you have to realize that number one, the situations and the circumstances are only temporary. So we're not about to make a permanent decision based on temporary circumstances, right? It only rains for just a season, right? It don't rain all year round, all day long, right? Even in the times it does rain all day, it's only for a couple days. It's only for a season, right? There's a summer coming soon. So you got to realize that the summer in your life, or the summer in this season, is coming soon. The sun is going to come. It's going to dry up all of this pain. It's going to dry up all of this agony. Is going to dry up all of these feelings that are making you feel depressed. You got to put yourself around positive people that are going to encourage you, that's going to speak life and hope into your situation. And then you got to put yourself in surroundings, right, that speak life and hope. You can't be in a dark room doomed and gloomed. That's just going to egg on your depression. So if you want to combat depression, you have to face it head on. And you can't expect everybody else to deliver you out of your depression. If you don't believe in God delivering you out of your depression, then you got to deliver yourself, right? And I'm not saying that. I thoroughly believe that God will deliver you out of your depression, right? But you have to believe it. And I'm saying, for those that may not believe in him right now, you already know I'm going to encourage you to believe in him, to give him a shout out, to give him a shot, to give him a try. But if you find yourself in a depressed state and you don't believe in God right at this present moment, the next best practical step is to change your surroundings, right? Like I said, when we started off with this thing, you might have to get out of the house. You might have to take a walk up the block, right? Yeah, you might have to put the cell phone down, right? Because the depression might be coming via the cell phone, via text messages, or social media. You might have to put that down and say, I'm finna tap out. I'm finna unplug from social media for a little bit, right? And I'm finna tap into reality. And the reality is, this false reality is creating a reality of depression in me. And as you acknowledge it, then you gotta say, nope, not here. Not here. You can walk by and you can knock on this door, but we ain't finna open the door for depression and let you in so you can kick it in this crib. You got the roll. Here go your packing papers. Here go your bag. Beat your feet. Get up out of my spot, right? And then you tell yourself there is a brighter day on the other side of whatever you're going through. If it's a breakup, if it's a bad grade, if it's a conflict with your parents, it's only temporary, right? It's going to get better. You have to do your part in helping it to get better, right? You can't continue to add insult to injury and think it's going to get better. Now, you got to change the dynamics of how you engage in a situation. So if it's a bad grade, you got to change the dynamics of how you study, right? You got to reapply your time. You got to reinvest your time, right? Stop wasting your time on social media. Stop wasting your time with your friends. You got to invest your time into them books and into that schoolwork so you can get a good grade. If it's a relationship, right? You got to change the dynamics. You got to take a step back and look and say, yo, is this really the best thing for me? Is this causing me a whole lot of pain that I really don't want to endure? Or is this causing me a whole lot of friction that I continue to find myself in? Causing me nothing but heartache and nonsense, and I find myself constantly arguing, right? You might have to detach yourself from that situation and say, hey, this ain't working out. I'm finna cut my losses. You cut your loss, and we just back away from this thing. It's a conflict with your parents, right? You got to look at what you are responsible for in the scenario. Are you listening when they ask you to do stuff, right? Are you taking care of what they ask you to take care of? You got to look at how you communicate back to them. Even if they're getting at you crazy, right? If they're getting at you crazy, then you got to look at how you are responding. Just like I was talking to the teens this past week or so. I was talking to the teens telling them, look, you can react to a situation or you can respond to a situation, right? And the difference between reacting and responding is reacting means I let the situation or somebody else dictate how I move. Responding means I am me. My character stands still and stands intact always, and I respond according to my character, not according to the situation and not according to the other person or the other people involved. So, if you gonna act like you depressed and you gonna accept depression, then you gotta be willing to deal with what comes with it, right? You don't want to deal with what comes with it, then you got to take responsibility to say, hey, I got to change some stuff, right? Might have to change your music, might have to change the mood, might have to change the room you in, right? Get out of that room and go do something different. And you got to tell yourself that you are worth more than walking around with your like they used to say, with your butt on your shoulders. You're worth more than that, right? Pick your chin up, look yourself in the mirror, tell yourself that you are valuable, right? And depression has to leave. Sometimes you got to talk to these things. You got to tell them you ain't welcome here. I will not be depressed. I got too much of my life going good. Even if everything's going bad, sometimes you got to talk the situation. You got to talk yourself out of the situation. I got too much of my life going on to be depressed. Too much of my life going on. Too many great things, too many great dreams, too many great goals lying ahead of me to sit here in depression. And you got to help pull yourself out of depression, right? You can't sit there and soak in it and expect it to get better. Nah, you got to actively do something to change you got to actively do something to change your circumstances. You got to actively do something to change that situation. And it all starts with you. So you got to take responsibility in the choices that you make from that point forward. Like I always tell you, man, I love y'all. I'm going to tell you what I tell you, hoping that it'll benefit you greatly. But you have to realize, you have to make choices, right? You have to calculate it out. You have to lay the information on the table. Don't take chances, make choices. I'm up out of here.